right. Well, welcome to our 1 o'clock meeting. I hope we never have to do this again, because I'll tell you, after 11 o'clock, like when we go from 9 to 10, I'm exhausted. And then I have my AP Psych meeting at 11, and that's tiring. And then to do this again at 1, no, I don't like this. No offense. Just kidding. It's so nice to see all of your shining faces. So, ladies and gentlemen, this morning we had a 9 a.m. meeting, and in that 9 a.m. meeting, we did the DBQ practice number 1 for contextualization. We got through most of it together. You only had a couple, I think you had one entirely on your own to do. And number 4, we kind of practiced together. Today, during our 1 o'clock meeting, we are going to do DBQ practice number 2. So if you don't have it opened up on your computer screen, I would open that up. I'm going to show you it on mine as well, but if you have it, I would have it opened. Keep in mind, both of these are due by 9 a.m. on Monday morning. The reason why we're doing 2 lectures today is because we don't have school tomorrow. So there's no vocab, no meeting tomorrow or anything like that, but I'm trying to give you a heads up, and I'm trying to kind of go through documents, because today is definitely a lot harder. This afternoon is a lot harder than this morning, because we're dealing with actual documents and the practice of assessing documents. So please make sure you have it open on your desktop. I already submitted it to you. I posted on Edsby earlier. It just takes a little bit to download, and I just get worried that if you don't have it download already, it's not going to work as well for you. So please make sure you download it, because there's a bunch of embedded documents into it, so it does take a second. So both of the one we did this morning, DBQ practice number 1 and DBQ practice number 2, which is what we are about to start, is due by Monday at 9 a.m. You can take a photo of it. If you're going to handwrite it like I'm doing, you can just take a photo of it and submit it. Or if you're typing it into a Word document, you can just send the document to me. It's either or. Any option is totally viable. Please submit it to me via Edsby. Everyone good? Everyone understands how we're submitting this stuff? All right, so let's get straight to the point and get to the whole meat and potatoes why we're here, because let's be honest, we didn't want to do a double duty today. Can we agree? I agree completely and wholeheartedly. All right, so today what we are doing is we are looking at DBQ practice number 2. And that was on your Edsby page, so if you haven't opened it already, please make sure you do. So this morning we talked about contextualization, which if you look on the rubric, which I have right here, it is worth 1 point. It describes a broader historical context relevant to the prompt, and that's what we're really focused on this morning. Now we're really working on the documents, which is the biggest, most important component. So let's, actually I want to pull up something else before we get going into the actual assignment, just to make sure we're familiar with what's going on. The rubric, I just want to remind everyone what the rubric is. I know we talked about it this morning, but this is the whole reason why we're here, is because we're trying to make sure we nail this rubric. So keep in mind, the rubric that we were originally working on is about 27 points. There's tons of opportunities for us to earn points, and the DBQ used to only be worth 25% of the exam. So when we were going through this morning and we were talking about contextualization, and we're adding much more information to that contextualization, we're just trying to make sure we're securing that point. Because previously we would have earned the point with just doing kind of basic, not as much evidence, but we had plenty of other points to pull from, and it's only 25% of the exam. Now, with the mini DBQ, with having it being 100% of the exam, so we went from 25 to now 100%, so a 75% increase, and on top of it, we went from 27 points to 10 points, which is a huge drop in points. We're trying to make sure we're securing our points. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, so when we're talking about these points, we won't go from 27 points and only being worth 25% to 10 points being worth 100%. So when we're cleaning up details and we're adding more stuff, it's to make sure we're nailing those points, because we have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We cannot rely on our multiple choice. We cannot rely on our SAQs or LEQs. Everything is coming down to this DBQ, so we have to make sure we have it as clean as possible and making sure it's as transparent as possible. So just looking at the rubric again, of course we have a thesis. How many groups do we need to have for our mini DBQs? Two. How many? Show me. I want to make sure we know. For mini DBQs, you only need 2 groups. Okay, so everything else about the thesis is exactly the same. Restating of the prompt. We're talking about restating of the prompt, the time period, and then we're having our 2 groups. Everything is exactly the same. Contextualization, as we talked about this morning, we're just adding a little bit more clarity and a little bit more detail to it because we have to make sure we earn those points, and that's exactly why. Just because it used to be a small point out of 27, now it's a 1 point out of 10. So it went from a small percentage of importance into a huge importance. We got to make sure we nail that point, which is why we're adding and thickening the information behind it, which is what this morning was. Now what we're doing today is we are looking at our documents, and we are going to try to support our documents by using information from that document. So today we're really going to be looking at this part of the rubric. We're looking at the doc usage as well as the sourcing of the documents. Now, you only have 5 documents, but how many documents should you be using in the essay? You have to be using 4. I'd prefer all 5, but you need to use all 4 because the minimum you can use 2, but that's not going to score you enough. It's not going to score you enough. You need to use at least 4. However, ideally, I would use 5. Why should we use 5 and not 4? It's the same logic we've been using all year. Yeah, you get more points, and if you mess up one document, you have another document right there ready to go, and that can compensate for the points. Do we remember this? Hello? Yes, it's the same game we're still playing. We're still trying to get as many points as possible. So the goal is when we write our essay, we want to use all 5 documents, but you have to use 4. Okay? 5 documents is ideal. 4 is if the minimum. With that being said, that gives you a little buffer just in case you don't hit something perfectly. Now, so as we're focusing today, we're looking at these components, which is 6 points total. So 6 out of 10 points. So still the most important thing about your DBQ, of course, is the actual documents. And that is really what we're focusing on today, is those documents and making sure we're scoring those points and making sure we're doing exactly what we need to. All right, so everyone understand what we're doing today? Everyone understands that this is between 2 and 6 points, which is a huge amount of points, yes? All right, perfect. So let's pull up DBQ practice number 2, and let's get to it. So when we're talking about the mini DBQ practice, so we're looking at the documents as we're kind of going through and how we can kind of tie them all together. So what we're going to do is we're going to break apart the documents and begin to slowly start answering the questions. So what we're doing today is we are simply practicing using the documents to answer the prompt. So we are going to analyze the documents, and then we're going to go ahead and answer the prompt using said documents. Okay, so I have an example, just like I did this morning, just so if you had to do this by yourself, you could do it. Using the documents provided, evaluate the effects of various strategies implemented by governments that promoted their own state-sponsored visions of industrialization during the period of 1750 to 1900. Okay, so this answer that you're seeing right here is coming from these documents. So this is document 1. Okay, so this information is coming from this, and it's also using a little bit of outside information. Okay, so the effect of German state-sponsored industrialization shown in these documents is more German people getting jobs. This effect is seen in the dramatic increase in the numbers of German workers permanently employed in German railway construction. In 1850, there were 256,000 German workers permanently employed in the railway industry, and in only 23 years, the number had increased to 230,000. Okay, so we're going to look at the data, and we're going to find information that supports the prompt. That's all we're doing. Okay, any questions on what this is? Now, this is an absolutely perfect answer. Okay? There's no way you cannot score points on this. However, Is this how it's always going to look? No. Keep in mind, you have only 10 minutes to plan and 35 minutes to write. Okay? Do you think you'll be able to write that for every single document? No. So we're going to continue to work on it and kind of streamline. But it's important to look at the ideals and then try to kind of break it down in order to figure out what is the most cost-effective way. Because at the end of the day, we have to write. If we don't write, we can't score points. So if we are at least writing, we can score points. Do we see the strategy here? Yes? So we're looking at a perfect example, but we know by fact that we're not going to be able to do that in the time constraint that they've created. So here we go. Same type of thing. I've given you an example. Okay, we've looked at the document. I've given you an example. We're going to practice that now 5 times. Okay, so we have documents, and then we're going to type in our response. Okay, so any questions on what the assignment is? Everyone good? We're okay? All right, so here we go. So we're going to read the prompt, and then we're going to look at the document, and then we're going to use the document to answer said prompt. And that's what we're doing. So you can either type it into your document or you can handwrite it. It's completely up to you. I'm going to turn on my Elmo here, and that way I'm going to handwrite them because I'm not going to type. But I will handwrite mine, so you can do handwriting or typed because AP is giving you that option as well. All right, so here we go. Practice using the documents provided. Evaluate the extent to which the Industrial Revolution negatively impacted the lives of women and children in the industrial societies during the 19th century. So we are dealing with, I'm going to open up my my own, so you can see what my Elmo says, if that's okay with you. You know I'm just reading the prompts. That you can follow along with me on your screen. Is that okay with you? If I show you what I'm writing instead of what I'm reading, because you're reading the same thing hopefully on your screen, yes? Okay. So we're looking at industrialization. So I'm just summarizing what the prompt is asking. Industrial Revolution. And it's about the negative impact for women. Okay, so it's just for me, so I know exactly what I'm dealing with here as we get started. So let's look at the prompt. You should have it on your desktop at this point. Now keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, you need to be comfortable looking at it via screen, because on the AP exam, you're going to have to look at it via a screen. You just don't have a choice. So I pulled up the prompt so you could see what it looks like on my screen. As I'm reading it, I'm going to be taking notes, and I'm going to show you what that looks like on my paper. So I'm not going to show you what the primary is because you should have the primary on your screen. You should be reading it along with me. But I'm going to show you what type of notes I'd be taking, because this is how you're going to be taking your AP exam. You're going to see digital documents, and then you have to make your quick annotations about it. Does that make sense? Hello? This is a skill I've never had to teach you before because it's never been done this way before. So I have my prompts posted. I'm going to show you my image, my Elmo screen again, so that way we're all on the same page. Okay, so as I pull it up again so I can see, just because it's not so user-friendly. Here we go. So using the documents provided, evaluate the extent to which the Industrial Revolution negatively impacted the lives of women and children in industrial societies during the 19th century. That's the prompt. Here is the document they gave us that we have to then annotate and then use to argue. Buddhist priests from a rural area of Japan from which many farm girls were sent to work in the mills circa 1900. Okay, so I am going to write happy on my sheet. So this is document number 2. So I'm going to write doc number 2, as you hopefully can see on yours. Can you? You can see it? Yes? Okay, good. So we know that this is happening in Japan. So I'm just going to write Japan, so remind myself later. So when I'm looking back at my notes, I can go ahead and do it. Okay, and they're Buddhist. They went out of their way to tell me that they're Buddhist, so I'm going to write that down. Okay, the money that the factory girls earned was often more than a farmer's income for the entire year. Okay, so more money than ever. Okay, for these rural families, the girls were invaluable. Invaluable equals girls. That seems strange, okay? How often you see girls described as invaluable, so that language is obviously very specific. The poor peasants during this period had to turn over 60% of their crops to the landlords. The peasants' only salvation was the girls who went to work in the factories. So, only way to survive equals girls in factories. Okay, so I just read through the prompt and I'm just pulling out the most important information. Okay, they're Japan, they're Buddhist, more money than ever. Okay, we're using the word invaluable to describe girls, which is new. The only way to survive is girls in factories. Okay, so I've just taken only the key parts of it. So if I had to come up with the historical, I would write Japan, industrialization. The audience is, so who is the audience of this piece? Let's talk about it. Let's look at this document again. Who is the audience of this piece?
Maybe other Buddhist priests?
I don't know if it would be other Buddhist priests. It's not a terrible answer. I would say either government officials, other government officials to kind of explain what's happening, or other farmers. Now, the thing is the reason why I would say government officials and farmers is because the language that he's using is a little bit highbrow for a farmer who's losing his land. Can we agree? Yes? However, would he be using this information to try to get other farmers to start using it? Hello? To start sending their kids to factories? Of course. So I'm going to say government officials and farmers because they're telling the government that this is the only way these people can make any money. However, the information is really derived for farmers. The purpose of the piece is to make money for low income. Okay? They're trying to talk about why it's so important for these people to have these opportunities. The point of view of the piece is what? What is the point of view of the piece? I think it's pretty transparent, guys. Invaluable, ladies and gentlemen. The faster we go, the less you have to do on your own. Guys, what? Yes! Women earn respect via wages. Okay, so women are now earning respect via wages. Have you ever been called invaluable? I've never been called invaluable. Okay, so with that being said, for us to be describing women as invaluable, it must tell us that women are earning respect. Is that a new thing or an old thing that we've been talking about in Japan? Is it new or old? Ladies and gentlemen, to describe women as invaluable, is that a new thing or an old thing? New, absolutely. So that's a big deal. Okay, and why is it significant? Now, I will tell you, you don't really have time for whys. So I would just scratch out your whys. You really don't have time, and hopefully you'll be able to score it, and hopefully you kind of can fall into it here later. But I will tell you, I would just focus on the haps and not the whys, because you really just don't have time. Okay, so this one took us a while because we haven't annotated a document like this. So we took super quick notes on it. So when you are writing your DBQ on the day of your exam, are you ever going to look back on these documents ever again, or all you're going to look at is what? Your notes. Yeah, your annotations and stuff like that. So we have gone through the document. We have pulled out important language. We have pulled out our hats because we're not going to do whys just because we've run out of time. Now we have to try to answer, take this document because we're focusing on documents. Using this document, how can we answer this question? Using the documents provided, evaluate the extent to which the Industrial Revolution negatively impacted the lives of women and children in industrial societies during the 19th century. Now, ladies and gentlemen, is this document a positive document or a negative document for women? It's a positive document for women. However, the prompt is asking us for negative. So we need to think about, in other contexts, how would something that comes across as positive be used as negative? So, ladies and gentlemen, if you had to say, how can this document answer this prompt? Okay, for sure. And what are you going to use to support it from the document? You're completely correct, Candace. We got to support it from the document. Okay, so let's write down what we have. How's that? Okay, so we need to use the document to answer the question. Okay, so the Industrial Revolution negatively impacted the lives of women in Japan. Women, I guess I can write and children, in Japan, due to the I can't think of the word I want. The Industrial Revolution negatively impacted the lives of women and children in Japan due to the quick and necessary rise of women into the role of breadwinner for their families, women and children were seen as profit, not whole individuals, worthy of equality and power. Document 2. Document 2 shows that women were sent off to factories to work, then sent money home to the family on the farm. So they never benefit from being / rising into the breadwinners of their homes. There you go. All right. So the Industrial Revolution negatively impacted the lives of women and children in Japan due to the quick and necessary rise of women into the role of the breadwinner for their families. Might as well put a paragraph there. Women and children were seen as profit, not as whole individuals worthy of equality and power. Okay, document 2 shows that women were sent off to factories to work and sent money home for the family on the farm, so they never benefited from being / rising into the breadwinners of their homes and gaining Power and influence. Power and equality. Perfect. Oop, I think my screen froze. Cool. All right. So what do we think? My screen froze. You can see me, yes? It's just my Elmo froze? Okay. All right. So what do we think of the first one? Yes? Do you understand where we're coming from? Okay. Could you have come up with that? Hello? Good, good. All right, good. That's awesome. All right. So let's look at document number 2 then, shall we? So does everyone understand what we're doing here? So we're going to make quick annotations about the documents. We'll do our quick hap, and then we're going to get back into and using that information to answer the prompt. So that's what you're doing for the rest of the 4 documents. And of course, we're going to keep going as much as we possibly can in the next hour, half an hour, 33 minutes. Sounds good to you? Hello? All right, here we go. So let's look at the document. And my Elmo hates me, and I don't know why. So let's look at practice number 2. Okay, so we're using the same thing. We're just looking at a different document. So we're going to answer the same prompt. So every prompt has 2 documents. So using the same prompt, we have a new image. So let's look at this image, which I just pulled up for you, and let's make our little annotation. So this is document number 5. This is still question 1. So these are the breaker boys. A worker whose job was to separate impurities from coal by hand. Although breaker boys were primarily children, elder coal miners who could no longer work in the mines because of the age, disease, or accident were also sometimes employed. All right, so the use of breaker boys began in the 1860s. The smallest boys is Angelo Ross, Pittman, and Pennsylvania. All right. All right, my Elmo is now starting to work. So here we go. So looking at our picture, we need to come up with a explanation or a hap. So looking at the document, of course. Okay, so the big things you need to know, these are young children. Okay, perfect. I don't know if you can see it. I'm pulling it up. My computer's freaking out. It doesn't want to be working at 1 o'clock either, I guess. Here we go. All right, sorry guys, technology. All right, here we go. So it's a young children, some old / disabled. Okay, and that breaker boys is important. Breaker boys, and it's coal mining. Okay, and those are the big things. Okay, so we're just quickly taking notes and we're just trying to adjust, and my Elmo is freaking out, and that's fine. We're going to keep moving here. So historical context, what do we got? Historical context is this is clearly happening during the Industrial Revolution, correct? We know that because no one cares about coal until pretty much the Industrial Revolution when it becomes such a high-priced item. Once we have coal, okay, we know we have children labor and all that stuff happening. Who is the audience of this piece? This picture was taken for who? Yeah, it's probably a government official, honestly. It's a government official, okay? And they're probably just doing they're just looking into the different opportunities for different jobs and stuff like that. It's the employment office. Okay, so we have these still today, and they continue to go around and check and monitor and stuff like that. Obviously, back then, it was okay to have children labor. Today, it's obviously not. All right, what is the purpose of the piece? What is the purpose of this photo? It doesn't show us really poor conditions. I mean, do you know what type of working conditions they're in?
Well, I just could kind of tell that their faces
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is not a childhood I would like to have. Can we agree? Okay. I would say the purpose of the piece is to show the youth. Who did they absolutely exclude? They mention that they have old people who sometimes do this. Yeah.
Just to show the kids.
Yeah, they're just showing kids. Just showing kids. I don't know why this is just so not working. Just showing kids. Okay, so the purpose, the point of view. What is the point of view? Is this person positive about children working or negative? Positive. It's a positive view. Positive, the kids are working. Kids are working. They have smiles on. Okay, so it is a positive thing. All right, here we go. So looking back at the prompt, which the prompt is asking us to, looking at the Industrial Revolution, evaluate the extent to which the Industrial Revolution negatively impacted the lives of women and children in industrial societies. This should be the easiest one out of the two of them. Can we agree? All right, so how does this image, so during the Industrial Revolution, children were seen as assets to families as long as they were employed. Children worked alongside adults to earn pay. This system negatively impacted negatively impacted women and children because they were so eager to work, it kept salaries down for all of them, which means low salaries ensures more women and children need to work longer hours, which benefited only the owners of these factories. Okay, so keep in mind, we have to talk about the negative component of it. Now, we don't really want to talk about how it takes away education from children, takes away playtime and stuff like that, because is that easy to defend or hard to defend? Hello? It's hard to defend. So by taking the avenue of looking at how they drive down wages for everyone, it's easier to say something like that and kind of walk away. Can we agree? Yes? Hello? Does that make sense? All right. So during the Industrial Revolution, children were seen as assets to family as long as they were employed. Children worked alongside adults to earn pay. The system negatively impacted women and children because they were so eager to work. It kept salaries down for all of them, which means low salaries ensures more women and children need to work longer hours, which only benefited the owners of the factories. All right. Would you have made that jump? Yes? All right, perfect. All right, we're done with the first one. Let's go back to the second one. All right. Let's go back and let's look at number 2. All right, using the documents provided, evaluate the cause of the rise of nationalism throughout the world during the period of 1750 to 1900. Okay, so for me, I'm going to write prompt number 2. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? Because I have like a bunch of things going on. Okay, perfect. So document number 2 is the first one we're going to look at. All right, and so we have, of course, our HAP. And then we're going to take our quick little notes because we have to now because we don't have paper to annotate on. So, source, Otto von Bismarck. Okay, so Bismarck, we know he is German. So we automatically know he's German. Prime Minister of Prussia from 1862 to 1872, and then of the United German until 1890, Blood and Iron. Okay, we know Blood and Iron is his big quote. So I'm going to write Blood and Iron in quotes because we know that of him. Okay, so Prussia could no longer carry alone the power that Germany required for its security. So this is clearly about what, ladies and gentlemen? Just off that first sentence, what is this whole thing about? Come on. It's not about industrialization. Right now it sounds like it's what? Could no longer carry alone the power that Germany required for its security. I would say unification. Unification. So this is all about unification so far. That must be equally distributed over all German peoples. So unification, so it benefits all. Okay, all Germans. We would get not nearer our goal by speeches, associations, or decisions by the majority. This contest could only be settled by blood and iron. Okay, so it benefits all Germans. Okay, and it's about blood. It's about war and industrialization. Okay, so the best thing the Germans can do is declare war and industrialize. There is one way to guarantee our success. The deputies must place the greatest possible weight of blood and iron in the hands of the King of Prussia. So we need to have a unified / autocratic rule to rise. Perfect. All right. So when you look at my notes, does it make sense where these came from? Yes? Okay. So we have to get used to reading something and taking quick notes because you're never going to read those primary sources again because you just won't have time. All right. So the historical context is going to be unification of Germany. Okay, it is, who is the audience of the piece? Come on. Don't tell me people, Daniel. They're not talking to the
officials.
No, they're talking to what type of people? The people in Africa, Daniel? Yes, the people of Germany, and we'll even throw in Prussia as well. Okay, what is the purpose of the piece? What is the purpose of the piece, ladies and gentlemen? Well, we already have the historical context of unification of Germany. But what is the piece? The purpose of the piece is to inspire the people to use both war and industrialization to improve Germany. There we go. Okay, the point of view is what? What is the real goal of the piece? Who should become more powerful here, ladies and gentlemen? There you go. The real point of view here is the goal of rising Germany's king into an industrialized autocratic ruler. And guess who is going to become that German industrialized autocratic ruler, ladies and gentlemen? It's a surprise. I bet you can't. Yes, that's it. Yeah, he's the first person to become. Okay, so he's laying the foundation so he himself can become the first industrialized autocratic ruler of Germany. Absolutely. All right, so now let's look at our prompt and how can we answer our prompt now that we've gone through this document. So the prompt, just as a reminder, is saying use the documents provided, evaluate the cause of the rise of nationalism throughout the world during 1750 and 1900. Here we go. Okay, so the rise of nationalism. In Germany will inspire the people to inspire the people of Germany to give up their local ties / regional ties to gain a universal title of German. This change will be inspired by the belief that industrialization and unification will allow Germany to supersede its enemies and its rivals. All right, so let me just check my prompt, make sure I answered the question. Use the documents provided, evaluate the cause of the rise of nationalism throughout the world during the period of 1750 to 1900. So the rise of nationalism in Germany will inspire people of Germany to give up their local ties / regional ties to a universal title of German. This change will be inspired by the belief that industrialization and unification will allow Germany to supersede its enemies and its rivals by joining together under the title German. All will benefit. All will benefit under this new leadership. I don't necessarily think you need the last sentence, but there we are. All right. How does that sound? Yes? Sounds okay? Yes, darling. Sure. Yeah. We should be. You're completely correct. Yes. If in a full-on DBQ where I was referencing a bunch of documents, I would be doing that for sure. But I'm not because I'm a bad person and I'm just focusing on one document at a time. Please don't hate me. Do you hate me? Please don't hate me. But yes, you're completely right. When we write out the first one, first mini DBQ on Monday, we'll be doing that. As a team, we'll be writing it together. We'll start it together and you'll probably finish it on your own and we'll start it out that way. Does that help, Katarina? Okay. All right. Perfect. No problem. Thank you. So let's look at document number 4. Same prompt, but different document. Okay. So I'm going to switch. So we're looking at number 4 now. Okay. Document number 4. Source, John Glotib Fischer, German philosopher, addresses to the German nation during the occupation by Napoleon, 1807 to 1808. Okay, so we automatically know during what time period is this, people?
When Napoleon was.
Yeah, we're in the Napoleonic Wars, people. Okay, so we're in the Napoleonic Wars. Okay, so, all right, our earliest common forefathers bravely resisted the oncoming world domination of the Romans. Okay, so they are looking at ancient history. So, are they looking forward or backwards here, people? Backwards. Yeah, they're looking backwards because they're trying to harp on something. We'll figure that out in a second. They no appreciation of the advantages of Roman civilization. Okay, so the Germans rejected Rome. They cannot be charged with ignorance of these things. Freedom to them meant remaining German. Okay, so they rejected Rome because they wanted to be German. And continued to settle their own affairs independently and in the original spirit of their race, because they wanted to be German, not Roman. Perfect. Okay, they assumed as a matter of course that a true German could only want to be just a German to bring up his children as Germans. Okay, so here we go. The historical context is, of course, Napoleonic Wars. Okay, who is the audience, ladies and gentlemen? This is an easy one. Oh, God, guys.
German people.
Yeah, the German people. Okay, what is the purpose of the peace? What is the purpose of the peace? Oh, no, guys. Come on. Okay, so what's the purpose of the peace? Yes, yes, yes. People, the purpose of the peace is to inspire people to reject who?
Napoleon.
Yeah, it's to reject France and fight for who?
Germany.
Yes, Germany. Yes. Point of view. What is the point of view, ladies and gentlemen? The best thing in the world is what, ladies and gentlemen? Is to be what, according to this?
Germany.
Yes. The point of view is the greatest race is German. Okay? And that is what they all aspire. They all aspire to be. There you go. All right. Here we go. So, looking back at the prompt that we're supposed to be answering. Using the documents provided, evaluate the causes of the rise of nationalism throughout the world during the period of 1750 to 1900. So how can we use an event from 1807, 1808 that'll cause nationalism to rise? Well, I'm going to make Katerina proud. I'm going to start with in document 4. Here we go. In document number 4. In document number 4. The point of view of the piece was to show that Germany, no matter the rival or time period, would continually choose to be German, no matter the might or size of its rivals. The belief that being German means being superior is embedded into German culture / thought, which will aid nationalistic cause to unify and to unify. We'll leave it at that. So in document 4, the point of view of the piece is to show that Germany, no matter the rival or time period, would continually choose to be German no matter the might or the size of its rivals. The belief that that being German means being superior is embedded into the German culture and thought, which will aid in nationalistic calls to unify and industrialize. We'll throw in industrialize as well because that'll tie into something else really nice. There you go. All right. How are we doing over here? Does that make sense? Do we understand what we're doing here? Yes? Okay. We're making sure we're answering the prompt. We're looking at the documents. We're breaking down the documents and then using those documents to go ahead and answer what the prompt is asking. Are we okay? Hello? Daniel, nice grass, by the way. So, what do we think, ladies and gentlemen? Are we better about this than we were this morning? Yes? Do we feel better about this? Okay, because this is less of a change. The contextualization was a bit of a change this morning because we really had to nail the extra information because of how much more important that one little point was. That one little point used to be a very small point, 1 out of 27. Now it's 1 out of 10, so we have to make sure we beef it up. So now we're just going through the documents and making sure we're tying those documents directly to what the prompt is asking us and something that we've been working towards for quite some time now. So, we feeling good? We're doing okay? All right. Well, it is 54. I don't think we have time to start another document together. However, I think we're in a pretty good place. Now, you do not have to finish this today. However, if I was you, I would just knock it out, wouldn't you? I mean, you're already in the mindset. You're already kind of working through it. So I would sit there and just knock it out, and that way you're done for a 3-day weekend. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Hello? No? It doesn't sound wonderful? It sounds wonderful to me. So if I was you, I would knock it out. But you can do whatever you want. So you are going to go through the rest of the document. I'm going to pull it up right here. You're going to go through the rest of the document, and you're going to answer the rest of the prompts as you go through. So you have question number 3. You have 2 documents for that one. 4, you have 2 documents for that one. And then 5, you have 2 documents for that one. So just going through and evaluating. This is a skill we've been working on all year. We're just trying to add a little bit of sophistication to it and just trying to really clean it up. Would you say this was worth your time? All right. Well, that's what I want. If you're going to be here, I think we should really make it worth your time. So I'm going to let you do the last 3 prompts, 6 documents, and kind of practice that skill as we kind of go through. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. If you finished practice number 1, you can email it to me via Edsby. Or if you finish this one, you can also send that to me and just get those points in and be done with it. So any questions, concerns, comments that I can help you with? Yes, my darling.
Should we just answer the prompt, or should we also state the document and compare the document with the prompt, or just restate the prompt and
No, because I didn't restate the prompt really. I answered the prompt because this is like in the middle of your paragraph essay. We're just focusing right now on little parts. We're not looking at the whole essay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I meant, should we just answer it, or should we also like analyze it?
I'm so sorry, my darling. We're analyzing the document because of the fact that we're pulling in some of this information. Like I literally just said, the point of view of the piece was to show. And all the other ones, we've done a certain component where we've addressed a certain aspect of it. So we are doing the analysis is in there. It's just not as explicitly stated, but we would get the points for it. Does that make sense? So essentially, what we've just done is we would have obviously our thesis paragraph, and then we're in our first body paragraph. The first sentence would be restating the prompt and introduce the group, and then we'd have our list of documents, yes? And then this would be the first sentence maybe after that first sentence. Like this would be the first content sentence of that paragraph. Does that make sense? Maggie? Okay, so when we pull it all together, we're just doing this a little bit differently than just sitting here and looking at one document kind of going through. It's a little bit unorthodox for what I have done, but I really want to make sure we're answering certain components, which is why we're doing it this way. I'm sorry if it's causing any confusion because that is not my goal, but I want us to really practice making sure we're using documents to answering specific questions, and that's what I'd like to do. Is that okay? Anything else? Sure, please. Oh yeah, Monday, Tuesday, we're writing whole documents, whole essays. Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, we're writing, you're doing one on communism and one on the Mongols. So that is definitely a skill that we are doing. But I'm just trying to make sure we're fine tuning a couple small details so we can make sure we secured that rubric, which is the big goal. So, alrighty. Well, I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate your questions and your participation. I really, really do. It makes everything better. So thank you. I hope you enjoy your 3-day weekend. I will see you on Monday because Hank's not coming till Wednesday. Yes, my darling?
Why did College Board give us like less time, like so much less time? Like how were they able to get away with it?
Because they're hateful. Yeah, everyone's pissed, but I mean, they get to do whatever the hell they want to do. It's their class, it's their test, they can do whatever they want. Yeah, no, it just sucks. I'm sorry. It's not ideal. I'm sorry. This is not what I want. Sorry, darling.